What's up guys, SuperSaf here, and it is iPhone week, which means I've not slept, and that's the reason for the sunglasses. But anyway, we've covered the 13 Pro and Pro Max in a separate video, so we'll take these out the way. In this video, we're going to be looking at the iPhone 13 and the iPhone 13 mini. Now, a lot of people are calling these the iPhone 12s and 12s mini because they do seem like incremental updates. Let's go ahead, get them unboxed. We'll also compare them to last year's iPhones and really see if that is the case. So initially looking at the boxes, we do have slim boxes like we had last year. Actually have last year's boxes, which we can compare. And the box sizes are also exactly the same. It's just that last year we had pictures of the front of the iPhones. This year we have the back. Now the unboxing experience is pretty much the same as well. We don't have any plastic wrapping this time around, however, and this does help with the environment. And inside each box, as well as the devices, we do get some paperwork, a SIM card tool, a white Apple sticker. Now this will be a white Apple sticker regardless of which color iPhone you go for. However, if you do get one of the product red iPhones, it will come with this little product red leaflet, which tells you that this is in partnership with the charity Red, and that Apple will contribute a portion of the iPhone purchase to the Global Fund to support HIV and AIDS programs. Thumbs up for that. We have a USB Type-C to Lightning cable, and if you haven't already figured out from last year, we do not get a power brick this year either. And here we are, the new iPhone 13 and iPhone 13 mini. The iPhone 13 I have in the product red color. This is quite a deep red. I do quite like it. And then we've got the midnight for the iPhone 13 mini. Now the overall design is very similar to what we had on the iPhone 12 and 12 mini. So we do have the aluminium frame with the flat edges, and then we've got a glossy glass back. Now the glossy glass back, as we had with the iPhone 12s, does attract lots of fingerprints, so I would definitely get a skin or a case. Now just to quickly bring in last year's iPhone so we can see them side by side, the height and the width of the iPhones is exactly the same. However, the new iPhones are slightly thicker and slightly heavier because they have bigger batteries. And the biggest design change on the back is the camera modules. So you'll see that the iPhone 13s do have a larger camera module, and we've also got this diagonal placement to house the larger camera sensor for the primary camera. Now if we switch over to the front, you'll see that things once again are generally quite similar in terms of the design. We still have ceramic shield, which is very tough for the displays, and the display sizes are also the same. We've got 5.4 inches on the mini and around 6.1 inches on the 13. The biggest visual difference is the notch. This is now 20% smaller compared to the previous generation. And the new iPhone 13 displays are also brighter compared to the 12s, around 28% brighter, bringing them on par with the 12 Pros that we had last year. So we've got a peak brightness of around 800 nits, and that can go all the way to 1200 nits if you're viewing HDR content. Now these are good displays. They have OLED technology, which means you get a very high contrast ratio. They're also very color accurate. However, it's not a huge upgrade compared to the displays last year. The big upgrade we've had is on the 13 Pro displays, which now have ProMotion technology with up to 120 Hz. These are just 60 Hz. Right, now let's talk about performance and the cameras. Before we do that, quick reminder, if you haven't already, then be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss future coverage like this. We've got lots more iPhone 13 coverage coming up on here. So the iPhone 13s are powered by the brand new A15 Bionic chip, which is a very capable chipset. The iPhone 13 Pros also have the A15, however, they do have an extra core for graphics, so they will get the edge when it comes to graphic performance, but nevertheless, the 13 and the 13 mini are going to be great for day-to-day use. They also come with 5G, which means if you are in an area where there is 5G available, you'll be able to take advantage of those faster speeds. And let's talk about the cameras. So within the notch, we still have the Face ID sensors. Face ID works as normal. I would have liked to have had Touch ID maybe on the side power button or on the Apple logo at the back, especially considering that we still do have to wear masks in lots of places. And then we've got the True Depth camera. Now this, in terms of the hardware, hasn't really changed compared to last year. But moving over onto the back, we do have some improvements. So the ultra-wide camera, as far as I can tell, is relatively the same in terms of the hardware to what we had last year. with the new image signal processor. But the primary camera has had quite a big upgrade. So we do have a larger sensor size, which is gonna give you up to 48% improvement in low light. And it also has sensor shift optical image stabilization. This is something that we saw introduced on the iPhone 12 Pro Max last year, but it was the only iPhone that had it last year. This year, all of the iPhones have sensor shift optical image stabilization, which gives you some really stable shots and also allows you to take better shots in low light. Now, we do also have new photographic styles. These will allow you to customize the look of your photos. Not really like a filter which you apply after the fact. These will actually be baked in to the image when you're taking it with all of that computational photography that's happening in the background. Now, I have had a play around with this, and personally speaking, I'm probably gonna just be leaving it at standard because I quite like the look that comes out of iPhones anyway. So although we do have some updates here on the cameras, the updates are not as significant as what we've got on the Pro models, which have 3 brand new cameras. Now, when it comes to video, the iPhone 13 mini and the 13 actually have some really good video features. So we do have 4K 60 frames a second HDR with Dolby Vision. I've said this many times before, but for me, iPhones do have the best video on any smartphone. And you'll be pleased to know that we still do get a lot of the video features that we have on the Pro models. So we have cinematic mode. Cinematic mode, think of it as portrait mode, but for videos. You're gonna get a really nice blurry background, and you'll also be able to change the point of focus after you've recorded the video. This is something that looks very promising. I'm still testing this out, so I'll let you know my thoughts in the camera comparison, which is coming very, very soon. Right, batteries and charging. So as mentioned earlier on, we do have larger batteries, and with the optimizations of the new A15 Bionic chip, the iPhone 13 mini should give you around 1.5 hours more usage compared to the iPhone 12 mini, and the iPhone 13 should give you around 2.5 hours more compared to the iPhone 12. Now, obviously, usage will vary. For me, last year, the iPhone 12 actually gave me pretty good battery life overall. However, the iPhone 12 mini just wasn't good enough for my usage. Of course, it is a smaller device, so it's nice to see these improvements here. Now, charging, as you know, the charger is not included out of the box. However, these do support up to 20 watts of wired charging. They also support 7.5 watts of Qi wireless charging, and we also do have MagSafe. With MagSafe, you'll be able to get up to 15 watts of charging. Finally, storage and pricing. So the iPhone 13 mini and the iPhone 13 now start with double the base storage, 128 gigabytes. I'm so glad Apple has got rid of the 64 gigabytes. I know so many people with 64 gigabytes, they just get the base model and then they run out of storage very quickly. This also means that you can go all the way up to 512 gigabytes. And for pricing, things are quite interesting because in the UK, you're actually going to be paying slightly less compared to last year. So let's break this down. If we look at the like-for-like models, the iPhone 12 and 12 mini at the price they released last year for 128 gigabytes compared to the iPhone 13 mini and the iPhone 13 this year for 128 gigabytes, you're actually going to be saving around $50 or around £70. So to answer the question at the start of the video, are these incremental updates? Are these more iPhone 12s and 12s mini? To be honest, I would agree. These are incremental updates. If you are somebody that currently has an iPhone 12 mini or an iPhone 12, I personally wouldn't advise upgrading to the 13 or the 13 mini. Maybe consider the 13 Pro. Having said that, these are coming in at a lower price compared to the iPhone 12 and 12 mini. So even if they are incremental updates, they're still not a bad deal. And if you are on, say, the iPhone 11, maybe on something older like the iPhone 10, I think you really will like the iPhone 13 and 13 mini. That's what I think anyway. What do you guys think? Definitely let me know in the comments below. Will you be picking one of these up or will you be going for one of the Pros? Also, let me know if you'd like to do any more coverage with the iPhone 13 and 13 mini. I know there's going to be lots more attention on the Pro models this year. And I am working on a SuperSaf style camera comparison. So if you want to see that first, then be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, then do smash that like button for me. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on SuperSaf TV, and I'll see you next time.